it's Laban. Welcome back to my channel and to Step by Step. Every week at 4 o'clock we do a step-by-step video, and today's part 1. So here is the victim. It's a secretary desk that I got from Facebook Marketplace, and I want to tell you something. It was in bad shape. Not the bones, but it smelled. And I'm just gonna come out with it. It smelled like cat pee. That's probably one of the worst smells ever. So I got to it immediately, and after 3 days, believe me, the expression "it came out smelling like a rose" is true. I really trust Dixie Belle products. First, I used White Lightning cleaner, and I took a minute to fantasize about what it was going to look like, and I was looking at this redesign paper, but back to work. I took that thing totally apart, scrubbed with White Lightning, rinsed with water, and then I used Boss in clear. I used the sealer and I sealed up everything. So on the bottom there was some veneer on the drawer that was peeled up, so I glued that down and then used tape on that. And then when I took the tape off, that ended up getting sealed as well. And then I was about ready to start on the fun stuff. Well, this part wasn't exactly fun. It wasn't all fun because that was a lot of details to get into. Initially, I was going to spray it. Not with paint sprayer. I was just going to use a can of spray paint. Not my style. I love my Dixie Belle products. I don't like to go off brand, but you know, during these times you kind of use what you have to. Well, guess what? It was old and it didn't really work that well, so I was back to picking a color I really preferred anyway. So this is Daisy by Dixie Belle, and I thought since it's the center of the desk, it was sort of like the center of a flower. So that was my thought process. And right now this is the only place you'll see that color, but before it's all said and done, we'll have a pop of Daisy somewhere else too. So this was sort of a long process, but it was well worth it. And back to visualizing, there's some more of the paper with some paint color. And I coated, after all the Boss, after all the sealing, there was 2 to 3 coats of sealer. I put a coat of drop cloth on, and then I was able to start on the decoupage. So I used Dusty Blue around the outside edges before I decoupaged, and you know, I have to go back and forth, but I used a little mud then on the grill and on the bottom of that drawer front where the veneer had come off. So you know, you have to do these things in steps so that they have a chance to dry. So I also hit the drawer front there as well. So looking pretty good. This is before I got to the decoupage. And usually I would use Dixie Belle sealer in flat to do my decoupage, but you know, it's on order and shipments are a little slow because of the COVID thing. Everything is. So I'm just using a little Elmer's glue and water. And just brushing the back of the surface, and then just putting the piece up and then painting over it. I was so excited to get to the outside color then. So I sanded where I had used the mud, just light sand, and wiped the dust away. And now I'm using Antebellum Blue. This is one of my favorite Dixie Belle colors. I just love it. And I had painted the inside of those door fronts on with Dusty Blue on the inside, so there was a little bit left to cover on the outside. So just paint over everything here, hinges and all. I've done it many times. It's all good. Easiest way to get everything covered up. I just, you know, can't say enough about these colors, these products. So if you would also like to try Dixie Belle products, just look in the description box. My affiliate link is there, and you can order products right there. I'll have to get on a ladder here eventually and make sure I get all these details. but right now I'm just so anxious to get some color laid on this piece. So let me know in the comments what you think so far about this piece. If you have any questions, because obviously this is kind of a, you know, departure, you know, when you start out, when things are that rough, and then you say it smells like roses and it's looking like this. So, you know, let me know what questions you have, or any comments, anything you have to add to the paint process, or your opinions on things, projects you're working on. Would love to know that. So again, here painting right over the hardware in this delicious color. That makes it so much easier when the drawers are in. You know, you do want to make sure you pull them out enough to get the tops of them taken care of. And of course, these drawers have been in and out because I scrubbed the entire casing and in and outside of the drawers. And then I used another product called Big Mama's Butter in the Suzanne's Garden scent, which smells like roses. So that I put on the inside of all the drawers and wipe down the inside of the casing. That has another benefit too. When you use it in the casing, on the drawer glides, it really helps the drawers now glide smoothly. There wasn't really a problem with the drawers, but it's always nice to have them be a little more smooth in the glide. So I'm leaving a spot in the middle here because I want to do some blending. As we talk about later, in retrospect, I probably should have coated this, and we'll explain why. But normally if you're using a regular pigmented color, then you would just leave that spot. But I was going to use Moonshine Metallics and Caribbean, and I did. On the front of the desk, you can see I did some, and then I came back the next day and made that spot bigger. It wasn't big enough for the front of the desk. So there's the Moonshine Metallics, and I get started on the drawers. Well, I already did it once, and I didn't have the footage. So anyway, here's an example of blending. I'm glad you get to see the process. And I want to forewarn you that, you know, sometimes when you're blending, be honest, if you're afraid of blending, you know, sometimes my blending game is on point, short and sweet, and looks great. And other times I struggle with it and I don't know when to walk away. Well, here's a good example of when I don't know when to walk away. So I put the Caribbean blue on the insides, and now I'm just kind of going out around the outside of that with the antebellum again. And that's just so that the paint's wet, so that I can blend the colors together. Okay, and then usually you use a brush for each color, so a brush for the antebellum blue and a brush for the Caribbean blue. And now I'm using a mister. You want to use a continuous mist. You can also get that from the affiliate link in the description box. And then you take a neutral brush, a nice soft brush, and do the edges and blend the lines together. Now, again, I do this on this piece. I do each drawer one at a time, and did a great job the first time around, and that's when I should have walked away, but I kept fussing with it. And I left the footage in so that you can see that, you know, it happens to me too. I teach this in class, and my students always tell me, oh, you make it look so easy. And yeah, maybe sometimes it is easy, but other times, reality, you struggle with it. So if you want to get really good at blending, I recommend you watch some videos on YouTube. Of course, I'm hoping that you watch my channel and subscribe to it. We do blending every now and then, but there's some other people that are Dixie Belle brand ambassadors that are definite blending wizards. One of my favorites, Brushed by Brandy, and another one is CC Restyled, and another one is Chris Donna. So she has Bella Renovare hope you check them all out. Uh, and again, I now start to keep messing with it. And that's okay, because there's nothing wrong with going back in with the color again. But I just kind of, like I said, it was looking good the first time around, and I just kept coming back and doing more and doing more. But I'm actually pleased with the end result. But could have abbreviated this process just a tad. The paint looks different, like the antebellum blue frame around that, because it's wet. So when it dries, it'll just blend in and be the same color as it is on the rest of the piece, or closer to the handles. And another thing you want to watch when you're blending like this paint was drying fast, so I did need the mister bottle pretty frequently. If you have the luxury of laying the piece on its back, then that makes it so much easier, because then you don't have to worry about dripping. If you're going for a drippy look, that's great. I'm not right now, so I don't want that. So you just have to watch with the mister, but you definitely need it. So I come back in, I believe, with the antebellum blue. Here I go again. Because when I do this, then sometimes I'm actually adding those lines back in. So, trial and error. Do you do that when you're blending? Do you go back 100 million times? A good thing to do, which I see it when I'm watching it on the video, and I've shared this tip before. I discovered it one time when we were doing actually a canvas class, is sometimes take a picture of your piece right in the middle of it, go away, do something else, and then look at the picture. Sometimes it helps you to see it in a whole new light, and then you see exactly what it needs. Just like that drawer front the day that I came in, and I had blended I keep saying drawer front, but the desk front. I had blended it, and I realized that spot was just too small. So came back in the next day. It was like new perspective, and I knew that it needed to be a bigger spot. So I think we're nearing the end of the blend, the blend end, if you will. Another thing we're nearing the end of is our quarantine. So Pennsylvania is supposed to go yellow on May 15th, which means that we can reopen our store. So this piece will be ready. Look at what a beast I am, lifting up the furniture piece so I can paint the bottom. I do a section at a time, and now I'm really fast. I'm going to paint the sides. Okay, and the front of it had a little spot of veneer that was missing too, so I had put that mud on it, and now I'm just sanding it and getting rid of the dust. And I'm going to be painting this in the antebellum blue as well. The piece of wood that is sitting on is actually going to become the shelves in there. At the end, I'll show you the shelves that were in there. They were made from like outside 2x4s, like the treated lumber. So they were really bold and masculine for this delicate little piece. So I'm happy to be able to restore this and have her coming out smelling like a rose. Actually, the pretty pattern on the piece has roses and peonies. I love peonies, and they're about to bloom here. What's your favorite spring flower? We have lilacs that are probably almost all spent. This weather probably didn't help much at all, but I love to bring them in the house. They smell amazing. So these are just details that are so worth it. I think what I'm going to do is coat each side with the antebellum blue, just one coat, and then I think on the outside, the front facing, I will do an extra coat in the Caribbean blue, just to give it a little bit of bling. Okay, so the decoupage paper that I put in the back of the cabinet, now it has some script on it. So now I'm kind of mimicking that using a stamp. I happen to have an Iron Orchids design kindest regards stamp, and I used Bunker Hill blue on it. I just used a sponge, or you can use a roller or brayer, and then just put the stamp on. Look outside. It is snowing in May, on May 9th. These are the drawers, and I used dusty blue on the sides, and now you're seeing the front with the kindest regards stamp on it. We're going to add some fun details on here. We're going to play with a stencil for that, and on the side of the drawers we have the key, and we will probably find something fun for the keyhole as well next week. And these are even the little sides where the front of the desk drops down. We're going to put a little detail on that. And these were those shelves. Aren't they lovely? So I really hope that you come back next week and see the finished product. So we're here every week on Saturday at 4 o'clock doing either a full step-by-step or a part. So this week we're doing part 1, and next week part 2. And now you can join me every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and I'll be live. Also, visit at lavintagedecor.company, and on Instagram at lavintagedecor, and on Facebook, Lavintage Decor Altoona. Stay well, and thank you so very much for watching.